All right, guys and gals, if you're still walking around the shop with USB sticks like it's 2007, or worse, if you're dusting off a floppy disk like you're starring in a retro horror film, it's time for a serious upgrade. Let me introduce you to G-Code Cloud plus DNC from Datanomix, because in this game, mistakes cost money, time, and maybe even your next DoD contract. This is GovCloud native, fully secure, built for compliance with the CMMC 2.0, AS9100, and all the other acronyms that make quality managers sleep at night. Full traceability, no drama. So instead of worrying about which G-code version got loaded or accidentally sending out the wrong one, you can focus on what really matters: making chips, meeting deadlines, and winning big contracts. Want to learn more? Check it out at Datanomix.io. Because it's time we stop babysitting USB sticks and start growing real businesses. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special episode of Manufacturing Mavericks, where the future of industry meets the sarcasm of your favorite Gen X uncle who still swears the best music was released on cassette. Today, we're spotlighting the next gen of leadership in manufacturing. Yeah, you heard right. This isn't your grandpa's factory floor full of clipboards and smoke breaks. This is all about leaders who swapped out the my way or the highway playbook for something radical: culture, trust, and maybe even feelings. You'll hear stories from 5 of our past guests, each showing us what modern leadership looks like. Sometimes gritty, sometimes geeky, but always real. Some grew up breathing coolant mist and shop oil. Some stumbled in it like it was the wrong Zoom call. But they all landed here for one reason: making things better for their teams, their customers, and the industry we all love. So grab a Mountain Dew, dust off that old Metallica shirt, and let's dive in. First, Adam Gordon, VP of Operations at Tendon Manufacturing. Adam's basically the Mr. Rogers of manufacturing, if Mr. Rogers also ran Kaizen events and made spreadsheets feel like life lessons. His leadership philosophy: hire with heart, build a culture where people actually want to bring in their friends, and practice gratitude like it's a daily vitamin. It's people first leadership minus the HR seminar snooze button.
I know one of the things that's very important, particularly in multi-generational family-run businesses, is culture and shop culture. So how would you describe the culture at Tendon, and what are the things that are really important to you guys that you're focused on?
I think one of the coolest takeaways we have, and one of the greatest compliments, is just the amount of employees that come asking for an application because they have a referral for somebody they want to work here.
Wow.
Yeah, I take that, and most employees do, and it's one of those things that we're doing something right. I mean, you like it enough that somebody you like, we want to bring in here, and that's honestly one of the most gratifying things that we found. And we kind of look for, we know that 90% of the jobs we have out there, well, basically 100% of the jobs we have out there can be taught. So you're looking for those just natural things: the ability to show up on time, the body language, the energy. Those type of employees tend to do very well here. And my dad, myself, my brothers, it's funny, we don't really hand out our business cards too much from a selling standpoint. We find ourselves using our business cards. Like the other day, I just really liked how the order was being received at Dunkin' Donuts. But the person, I was like, hey, if you're looking for a career somewhere else, I just really loved your service. Or when you're at a grocery store and somebody's just hustling to get the shopping carts in, and just that type of stuff you want to admire in people. And it's kind of that pot of coffee test too, that on the front office we have the coffee. You're supposed to make it yourself, and then if it's running low, noticing the people who are the ones that make make the pot for the rest of the group, and don't just leave it there empty, and pick up a loose piece of trash that they see on the ground, even though it's not theirs. It's just, that goes a long way here for sure. And I think one of the cool things we do for employee buy-in is we have these fix-it forms, we call them. And it's really just a process improvement thing that we want employees to look for ways to improve their day, improve, our operations. And you'll come to find that the employees that fill out the most fix-it forms are the ones that kind of climb the ladder quicker, because they're seeing things that we're not, and they're just advancing us so much more than we could imagine. And along with that, we do quarterly bonuses. That's part of our profit sharing. So whatever employee wages are, they factor in this last year. It's factored to be an additional $3.25 an hour. It's one of those things that, your biggest asset is your group of people. And the Ohio State legend said it best, Woody Hayes, you win with people. So that's kind of what we strive for here.
Those are some excellent anecdotes, Adam. I actually had a customer, I asked him out of curiosity, where'd you hire your last employee? And he said, Harbor Freight. And I said, why? And he said, because there was something I needed help with. He went and got it, brought it out to the car for me. I told him, follow me back to the shop. I got a new job for you.
Daniel's story is as raw and real as a Pearl Jam bootleg tape. He started in maintenance, climbed the ranks, and now he's all about coaching others to be so good they can take his job. That's not insecurity, that's confidence. It's like saying, yeah, learn my guitar solo, play it better, I dare you.
I'm one of those managers that goes around, I'll paint lines, I'll work on machines, I'll put up lights. I like to be involved. I like to get people involved. I got one of my best friends working with me. He is one of the hardest working people I've ever met.
Was he a farmer too?
Well, no, actually, he's kind of just been all over the place, done all kinds of different things.
Somebody told me once, if you ever hire anyone that has experience on a farm, they'll be the hardest working person you've ever met. We actually have one of our customer success engineers grew up on a farm, and the dude's a hard worker, I'll tell you what.
98% of the time. There's a 2% there.
That's better than a lot of other populations.
But the good thing about somebody that come from a farm or something like that, I can tell them to do anything and they will do it. If there's hard work that needs to be done, they're going to do it. They ain't going to ask questions. How hard is it? Why do we got to do this? That ain't my job. It's right. They're like, let's do it. Let's get it done. And that's what I want to hear from young people. That's what I want to hear from anybody is, I don't want you to ask me how hard the job is. I don't know how hard the job is. I just want to get it done. I beat on a tapered pin the wrong way for 2 days and then drill it out and then find out that I was beating on it the wrong way the whole time. I've done dumb things like that and I've learned from it. I didn't hit the other 7 that way. I'm a learn on the job type of person. I'll do anything. You just let me do it and watch me go, because I'm gonna be all in on it. I'm gonna learn everything I can. I'm young. I'm eager to learn. The future for me, not the past, not the present. The present's now, but that's for people that they want to put out fires every day. I'm not somebody that wants to put out fires every day. I want to prevent the fire before it gets here. I want to prevent the problem before it gets here. Here's my wife talking again. Everything has a process. Everything has a place. If you're doing the process right, then your life is that much easier. We change our processes all the time because there's always a better way to do it. If you're listening to the people that's doing the job, then you're changing your process all the time, because it's easier for some people to do some things a certain way. And, you got to be open to that. I know I got my way of doing things, and it's probably the fastest way. But some people rather do it their way because they're comfortable with it. So you got to be open to that sometimes. So it's a lot of fun.
So, Daniel, one of the things I've heard loud and clear in different parts of the story as well is you give a ton of credit to Hipschman and specifically to Chad, the president of Hipschman, for really giving you those opportunities to grow and advance, starting out in maintenance, and now you're manufacturing manager overseeing operations effectively. What are some of the things about Hipschman and the culture that have allowed you to go through that experience and as you said, rise from the bottom?
Now that I've gotten to the coaching aspect of things, that's helped a lot about like how I talk to people, or I'm all about I'm trying to uplift people or get people involved in like we have a meeting every Monday, and right now we're going over core values. So we got 10 core values. They're a little high, but hey, we're aiming high. But each week we have a different core value that we got to live so people can learn it. And it's real funny because like today, our quality lady was like, Kim helped me figure this thing out on this computer. So she had a lot of coachability. That's one of our core values. And I was like, once they say it 7 times, it's stuck. So like hearing them say it, that's right, there. See, it's working. This week we're on craftsmanship. So find that problem before it becomes a problem. I think it's exciting to watch them. You're watching this whole group grow. Everybody's getting a little more outspoken every week. I'm just waiting for the one person to say, I want to talk first. That'd be great. We ain't there yet, but yeah, give it a few weeks. We'll get there. Sooner or later, somebody will start speaking a little bit more. And that's what I look for in new leadership skills. Like I'm waiting for that next leader to step up and see them take charge. That's what excites me as oh, yes, I don't have to do one more thing. This person's going to do it because they done spoke up and they're ready to go. That's what I look for in a leader, because I want somebody to take my job. I don't want to be doing my job my whole life. I want somebody to take that job. If you're going to do a great job at it, you can have it. That's awesome. I'll move somewhere else.
Now we've got Rebekah Colligan, VP of Operations at Phoenix Mecano. She's the type of leader who could walk into chaos, grab a dry erase marker, and turn it into continuous improvement magic. Systems thinking, customer focused, and just enough engineering wizardry to make you wonder if she moonlights as Tony Stark. Her motto, don't ask if it's broken, ask how can we do it better.
Our focus is really to help our customers have good solutions for their product, in that we offer machining to make it easier for them. We'll do paint, powder coats. We'll customize our catalog of standard enclosures made by our company globally for whatever application the customers need. And so I have a team of design, manufacturing, quality engineers that will support, problem solving for our customers. We also have another product line that is for more on the automation solution side of the business. And so we'll develop workstations, or we'll integrate linears or lifts we'll do the platforms and staircases. We'll design those for customers to integrate into their equipment, machine design. And so really we're kind of at the front end of the supply chain, where customers are looking to put their products inside of their products. What we say is that we try to simplify the process so that the customer can focus on the big picture. Our solutions are simple. We try to make it easy for the customers to do business with us.
Got it. So is the right way to think about Phoenix Mecano as effectively an OEM with a pretty broad catalog, but that also needs to support, it sounds like, some fairly unique customization in the purchasing process?
Our catalog is quite broad, and the applications are also quite broad. So we have engineers that need to be able to understand. We work in the oil and gas sector, and so they need to be able to understand ATEX and ICEX regulations and those impacts, and how our products are used safely in those industries. And then we also need to understand how to integrate a lift into a multi-axis system and be able to support the customers and controls and understand how our lifting system will impact their overall control system. And so and then we also have customers that just need a hole in a box for a prototype part. And 10 to 15% of our production orders can be fewer than 10 pieces, 1 or 2, 3 pieces. And then we'll have customers that will order regularly, but we have a wide variety. We trade with 200 to 2,500 customers annually.
Wow. So I know you've been with the company about a handful of years now, Rebekah, and obviously have made many technology investments along the way. What did the process look like to support that kind of business when you first joined, and what does it look like now?
Yeah, I think you're referencing our machine investment, right? We in the last couple of years, we've invested in all new machining centers in our production area to be able to respond to changing workforce needs. We're in an area of the country that is, we're along the I-95 corridor, which is great for our customer base. It's a very up and down I-95. There's a lot of electronics and electrical integrators, but our specific location is far more medical and biomedical research. We're just outside DC. And so there are fewer just heavy industrial manufacturers here. So the workforce in this area is far more just not the skill set that we need for machining. So we had 13 different machining centers previously of all different vintages from the late 60s all the way to the mid 2000s. And we just in 2 years got rid of all of them, replaced them all, and went with one machining center, one type of machine, and standardized that to be able to offer standard controls to our operators so that the interface is the same. When one operator goes from one machine to another, then they know how to operate all the machines. That's really what drove it for us, is to be able to reduce our setups, standardize our setups, standardize operator training, and be able to, in some ways, standardize our programs so that, offsets are a little different between the machines, but to have standards established, we have so much variability in our product line that to have the variability in the product line and the machines and the controls and the setup approach, it was just too complex. I mean, if you've worked in manufacturing for any length of time, you know that there's just variability everywhere from all directions. So our effort was to try to remove some of that variability and standardize it so that our operators could be more successful, so that our setup times could be reduced. And we see the effect of it. It's been a great investment. And at the same time, we invested in Datanomix, and we gave that feedback to the operators so that they could better understand how their decisions, their day-to-day decisions, and how they interface with the machines impacts the productivity through the line. And so, yeah, that's one of the biggest investments that we've made, and we've seen great return on it.
So 13 different machining types down to one is a heck of a consolidation. That sounds pretty disruptive.
Yeah, we have 6 machines today and are getting more output from the 6 machines than we were from 30 to 40% utilization on 13 machines. So
that's fantastic. Reducing the complexity for the operators, and then based on the catalog of parts that you offer, and then it sounds like there's a lot of potentially little tweaks. I'm guessing a pretty significant number of SKUs as well that gets serviced across this now one machine platform.
If we have 2,500 customers, we usually have around 2,500 or more part numbers, probably 3,000 or 4,000 part numbers annually. So yeah, every customer has their own, and then several customers have multiple part numbers. So. And it could be a profile, a piece of extruded profile running through the machine, or it could be a plastic housing, or we have fiberglass enclosures for special applications like EX, just all kinds of different materials, stainless steel, plastic. So it could be any of those in any shape.
So you talked also about sort of consolidating, optimizing the setup workflows as part of that change too. I mean, with all that variation that you just talked about, number of SKUs, materials, slight variances effectively in the features of what gets produced, what did that process look like to get those setups tightened up?
We had some standard fixtures for our housings, but we built on that by standardizing how the parts are in every machine. And so the machine that we bought allows us to have a table as well as a 5-axis and be able to set up all the parts in the same way. Most of our parts are just in the shape of a 6-sided box, and so we're able to standardize how the parts are in the machine using the standard fixture. But then beyond that, we've really started to build standard fixtures for the weird shaped parts. Not all housings are 6-sided boxes. So we located where the boxes were and set the vices on the table and the fifth axis in the same place on every machine. And really, it's hard to describe it in words. Built the extension for the box, customized them for the machine. So every machine has its own version of the setup tools to be able to put the box in the same location so that the programs can be standard. And we only have to change the offsets in each program by machine.
I know from, the results that you were talking about previously, if you go from 13 machines to 6, increase the output and also service that much additional variance on a reduced footprint, that there had to be some pretty significant engineering optimization, machine optimization to be able to pull that off. So really awesome to hear about the layers of complexity that used to be there and then how to get it down to something that, particularly when you talk about the workforce aspect of it, right? Talk about levers of automation that you've really introduced into this process. Is you didn't just go to a robot, you actually unwound what sounds like half a dozen or more layers of the problem to get to something that's much easier to make repeatable.
I would say I'm not satisfied with where we are. I still think there, with all the improvement we made, there's still more.
There's that bug you caught.
Oh man. There's just so many more improvements that you could walk out to our shop and still see more opportunities. And the improvements that we made were great, and the shop runs much better than it did previously. And also, we shouldn't stop. We should continue. And I still think there's opportunity to improve how we hold the parts, how many we can fit in there. You mentioned robotics and automation, and we're starting with that. Just more and more opportunities. I think we can't slow down and stop.
Love the attitude. In that regard, what investments are you looking at in the next 12 to 24 months? Where does the next layer of optimization come from?
There's automation at the machine. There's integration of robots and working with the operators, our existing operators, to support them better and doing some of the repetitive tasks that they don't need to do, that they can help in other ways. So we're starting with those. But I think a big piece for us is systems integration. Yes, we need to work on making the parts faster and better, but for every individual in production, there are 2 or 3 more outside of production that are supporting that function. And so for us, it's the whole system, the entire process, and how I mentioned it earlier, but how easy it is to do business with us, how easy it is to get a quote, to get a part started and out through production. The time on the machine is just such a small fraction of the total time and effort that all of us put into making the parts. And our investments are really in the future more on the systems integration side, getting our ERP more closely tied in with all the other systems. It already is. We live and die by our ERP system, but also with our visual work instructions, with our sales and operational planning, and with our forecasting, and using more technology to understand where the market is going, and reading our inventory levels, all of those things, how the customer receives a quote, how we run that new product, every new item through our system, and whether we can automate pieces of those steps. That's where we're investing, yes, in manufacturing, but in the whole process of manufacturing.
Sure. I think you call upon a fantastic point, which is obviously the time in the machines is one of the big things that draws all of our attention. And by the way, I don't always do this live on episodes, but I had to go look at some of your continuous improvement data. I have to give you a ton of credit. Your utilization's up 19%, 19.7% year over year. That's the rate of change. So you guys have picked up almost 20% in the last 12 months. And your downtime is actually down 24% just in the last 6 months, which is some pretty incredible improvements.
I'll let my team know, but they can't rest. It's not time to sit down.
Those are good numbers, but they're not good enough.
We've not arrived.
Right? Always happy, never satisfied.
Yeah.
Good
exactly.
job, guys. Where's the next 20%? No, but so that's the in-machine stuff, right? So a lot of good things happening there. But I think you calling attention to the outside of the machine and the human interaction, looking for information, having the right information, knowing what to do. How do you try to get better insight and better tracking on some of those dimensions?
We do track failures. We track engineering failures. We track production failures, obviously. We track internal failures, and we really work to drive some of the root cause. I have a stack of 8Ds on my desk. My team would say I'm a little too particular, but I really think that if we put the effort into finding what truly happened at the failure, then it's easier for us in the long run. And so we try to make those improvements through identifying what went wrong, and then also just looking at, we have dashboards that we use Power BI quite a bit with our ERP data and some of our CRM data. And I measure how long it takes for us to get a quote to a customer, and then we set targets and identify projects to make improvements to that time. Because a lot of people offer housings and solutions, and I like to believe that one of the advantages is the quality of our product and our ability to respond to what customers need. But I also know that effort is always a factor. You know, when we go buy something, if it's really difficult to work with that company, then I'm probably not going back to them. And so I know that our customers have the same perception. So I think measuring the things that matter to our customers and identifying projects to improve those and just continually chipping away at it. I'm not looking to make significant improvements to the overall operation in one fell swoop. I'm looking to make measured small improvements day after day, year over year.
Eric Van Orden of Paramount Machine, a second-gen machinist who keeps it real with a toolbox full of values, and not the cheap knockoffs. Ownership, accountability, initiative, the kind of stuff you'd tattoo on your forearm if tattoos weren't already reserved for skulls and barbed wire. He drops leadership quotes like a mixtape reminding us that stepping up matters, especially when no one else will.
And that's what I went back to, like, the money that comes into the shop goes back to the shop, and either the employees or in technology, tooling, machines, anything like that. And yeah, the ISCAR guy, the Walter guy, they love me, but I also know that they're helping to make me more productive. And I've built great relationships with a lot of them that they don't come in to try and sell tools. They just come in and say, what's going on? And we have a real conversation. And I talked to the ISCAR guy about what the Walter tool's doing, about what the MA Ford tool's doing. And the ISCAR guy gives me his input on it. And his input isn't always, oh, well, it doesn't work because you don't have a ISCAR thing. It's genuine feedback and talking about the technology behind the tool and the application and what's happening in the cut. You don't get that if you don't build relationships. And maybe that's part of the key thing in like the culture at the shop here too, is like, we build relationships with people, and building relationships is very important in this industry.
It's everything, man. And even though, like I say, we walked up to a dark door at 4:00 in the morning, and I'm like, man, what's this mean? Is this guy going to be tough or what? What? And you are tough. You make people prove it, man. You make people earn it. But once we connected on value and being able to help each other and being partners, you guys are fantastic to work with, and so is everybody inside your company.
Yeah, it's great. And I don't know, I think that a lot of people can continue to get into manufacturing, can be successful. And like the same story I had of, what I'm doing isn't working. If I went to work and made parts and worked hard and made a good living that way, I'll be happy. this is one of my, there's two quotes I want to tell you during this thing. And one of them is Sam Walton: high expectations are the key to everything. If we don't have high expectations, what are we really holding ourselves to? And then a little bit more of the like philosophy that I've adopted lately. And I wish that I could get everyone to, I'm still working on it. I got to try and figure out, I'm trying to get this as a banner to put up on the shop. But Winston Churchill said, I like for things to happen. And when they don't happen, I like to make them happen. And that goes back to taking ownership of something. And, you know, we all want great things to happen, but some of us just sit there and say, oh, it didn't happen this time. And then there's the other group that says, it didn't happen, but I'm going to make it happen. And you take ownership of it, and you find the tool path, you find the tool, you find the technology, you persevere and are able to go forward. If you're stagnant, you've seen it. How many shops are going out of business because they're stagnant?
And closing us out, Randall Leach of Riccarte Precision. If Batman ran a machine shop, this guy would be Alfred, quietly making sure the tech, the data, and the trust all click. He's all about visibility, flexibility, and empowering teams to lead, not follow. Basically, he's proof that leadership in 2025 is less about barking orders and more about building squads that are always ready for the next mission.
I have to tell you, I think the combination of the two of you is just incredible because you're both so aggressive. There's no stuck in conventional wisdom. Oh, it used to be that way. It's literally what's best now. How do we win now? There's no excuses. There's no limitations. There's no constraints. Just what do we have to do to keep winning? It's very rare to see that combination. And I'm sure you feel very fortunate that Hernan's given you that opportunity and that you guys collaborate in that way.
Extremely. And him and I kind of make this joke and it's just, we don't have time for what we call the old man stories. And I hate to say it that way, but there's no other way to say it. Like it kind of what you were just talking about is, for us, it's frustrating because all of that knowledge base, it is great, right? But if I can't get it out of your head in a useful manner, what good is it? And that's exactly what we're talking about with the machine monitoring stuff, the ERP systems that are digital. And it's still funny. You run into these roadblocks where, and again, we shouldn't say old man stories or whatever else, but come up with a different saying for that, because you'll get into AS9100 auditors. We have a fully digital system. Ooh, I don't know. Is that AS? It's like, well, yeah, it is. And here's why. But now the industry needs to catch up to all this technology because it's going forward and it's made life a lot easier and us capable to do what we're doing with our growth and being aggressive and not trying to slow down or be slowed down by the lack of.
You are a banner manufacturing facility for digital technologies. I love those command centers that you guys have out on the floor, 4 monitors. You've got your ERP, you've got the quote, you've got the production data. I mean, there's nothing you don't have that's out there on the floor. So given the level of sophistication that you guys are at today, what's the next wave of investments look like for you?
Moving forward further with what we've gotten better understanding, for us, we're looking at what is next, what type of machines are next, and then just more automation within that. So we can scale without having to add bodies unless they're needed, right? And that's almost a funny thing too, because the introduction of automation, I think, almost always for the manufacturing floor, those guys end up getting scared, and there is, some thought of, oh, if that's doing it, I'm going to lose my job. And that was kind of the exposure that you just touched on when the 5-axis came in, and there's some people that are timid. Then they do get that enlightened manufacturer moment where it's like, oh my God, my life just became so much easier, and look how much more I can do, and look at how much more valuable I become. Right. So what other aha moments can we have within that? And then better service to the customer, parts intolerance on time, any issues that come up along the way are readily communicated so we can combat, any delay in that process. And again, I guess I'm not really answering the question of what's next. It's just those are the challenges that we hope to combat, or that we try to combat rather, on a daily basis. Again, more machines. I mean, again, stuff with automated bar feeders, pallet systems that we can run lights out and be more aggressive.
No, I think, Randall, I think you answered the question perfectly, because what you're really saying is the answer is not a piece of specific technology. The answer is a framework, right? So you have a lot of tools in place today. You're measuring. You can see what your capability is now in terms of your people to machines ratios and how that relates to your productivity and how that relates to your revenue and how that relates to your profitability. And you're sort of in this position now that, like, hey, we have visibility. Now it's causing us to say, well, is the right move more automated type stuff? And can we, then go look at the business side, and can we get more of that stuff to feed into some of those investments? Or are we seeing types of work that's going to send us a different direction on machinery? I mean, what you're really saying is that you've accumulated the visibility to actually be able to think about these things from a business level.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think the other side of that is too, I mean, there's not, we really like Japanese precision machines. The tolerance they hold, the quality of the machine and everything like that is attractive to both Hernan and myself. But the other side of that is, kind of my answer is being nimble enough to pivot where we need to pivot, right? And not being closed off to, well, this is the road we're headed down. We can't turn back. Why look at that as turning back? It's okay. This isn't a straight road that's only traveling linear. There's twists and turns in this. And how can we do what we do better? How can we make ourselves stronger? Where are we weak? Where do we need to strengthen? And what's going to fill that gap? And then back to the technology side, we do have a lot of this data. We're constantly engaging with our customers and letting them know where we're at and what we're doing. So then they know what is coming, but readily available because of, we use paperless parts. We use ProShop as our ERP. We use High QA as our quality inspection for in process. And then we use Datanomix for our machine monitoring, and just all of that, where I'm not having to sift through the data. It's a couple clicks. And then you get to that understanding of what's going on quicker. So then you can make those decisions, right? I mean, I remember when we first really started using Datanomix and met you and Lusty for the first time. And it was like, oh man, this might not be something I thought I wanted, right? And you get it and you're like, oh, this is kind of ugly. But I totally embrace that after the 5 minutes of freaking out. Cause okay, what is this? It's opportunity. Now we can be better. Now I don't have to worry about what was the machine doing while we weren't here, while we're running 24 hours at the time. And then we come back in. Oh, it stopped at 1 a.m. It was this tool that it was running on. The machine was running at 100% rapid travel, whatever it is. Like, why would I have to worry about going back and sifting through that? And when did it happen? How much production did we lose? How many parts have been created? You guys email it to us. I mean, how much easier is it to get that and then act on that information?
Yeah, love it. And I'll never forget the first scenario that you guys really wanted with our system was for those automated machines in the back, the MAMs. And I think your exact quote was, I was dying laughing, was, when one of these things stops, I want 4 people running into each other in the aisle on their way to get that machine back in cycle. And I could just picture it, like Roadrunner and Coyote, the feet are spinning in place. They're trying to get back there and get those bad boys running again.
Yeah. And that answer semi remains the same. We understand all of that better now. So there isn't the panic moment of that. It's, and because of process and procedure with this technology, that doesn't happen. Everyone's calm and collected and okay. this is gone down for whatever reason, or stopped running rather than gone down. And okay, you know what? It's a tool change. Hey guys, we found a different tool. It's going to run better, or just whatever that is. And then it's acted on in real time, as opposed to having to wonder because we're alerted to it.
You've really seen by having more visibility across all your systems. I mean, you enumerated them. We talked about those command centers. By having visibility across all those systems. So when you first get something, it's reactive because you're like, wow, I didn't know that. You feel bad about it. Then you dust yourself off because you grew up with a broom and a Bridgeport and you've got that grit. And you say, now what am I going to do about it? And what does it mean? And then how do I make the most or the best of what this situation is? And then you sort of get everybody on the same page about using the information to be proactive, to be ready, to be aware, and to always be thinking about just how do I do my best.
Yeah. And I think it's however you pitch this to your team and whatever else, because it can look like Big Brother at a glance. And then it's, okay, why think of it that way? This is going to tell me or whoever is watching this stuff how productive you are. You guys have gone through different phases as well as how the information's presented, because it can get really deep. Or you can look at your utilization. Are you doing that and making the most of this? It's funny because of the way probably Hernan and I both are, and that's infectious with the guys on the floor. I'll walk out and I've explained how your system works, but I've got newer employees on the floor and they're digging into it, asking the questions about it. Like, yeah, I want to figure out what the utilization of this graph means to that. And, this is so cool. So that welcoming technology or welcoming of that technology is huge because they didn't then see the benefit. And it's not, if you don't get X amount of parts done today, whatever that overreaction is. And sometimes that's not an overreaction, but you get where I'm going with that, as opposed to using it as a tool to say, this is where I'm at. What do? It's contract manufacturing. We're a precision machining facility. So for us, and we talked about this at IMTS, I want to know before the end of the day that I thought I was at 80% and I have an hour to go. Oh no, I'm at 20%. Where can we find out in the first hour, this is not going the way we thought? And it does that. And then the fact that all these communication or technologies communicate together and we actually use them, it's not just, hey, we have technologies. What are you doing with it? And then we can respond. I mean, to me, that's where like so much good comes out of all of this.
Thanks for tuning in to this special edition of Manufacturing Mavericks. Leadership's not about titles anymore. It's about trust. It's not about control. It's about culture. And if these 5 voices prove anything, it's that the future of manufacturing leadership is safe, smart, and maybe even a little punk rock. So if you've liked what you've heard, smash that subscribe button like it's your old Nintendo reset switch. Leave us a review so other people know we're legit, and share this with someone who still thinks leadership is just wearing a tie. Spoiler alert, it's not. This is Manufacturing Mavericks. Until next time, stay curious, stay scrappy, and keep machining the unseen that moves the world. Let's be honest. How much money are you really losing to scrap, broken tools, and wishful thinking? Yeah, probably more than your accountant's comfortable with. That's where TMAC AI comes in, powered by the brilliance of Karen Engineering and brought to you by the team at Datanomix. This isn't some maybe it'll help gadget. This is real-time, AI-driven feedback while the part is still being cut. That means you're not waiting until inspection to find out you've just made a $500 paperweight. Here's what TMAC AI does. It listens to your machine like a CNC whisperer. It flags bad parts before they become bad news. It fine-tunes your tool life based on actual cutting data, so you're not guessing, you're optimizing. Less scrap, longer tool life, smarter decisions. All without you lifting a finger or losing your cool. Want to see it in action? Head over to Datanomix.io because wasting money is so last season. Do you ever walk out to the shop floor, stop mid-stride, and think, are we even running right now? Yeah, we've all been there, playing the guessing game with production timelines like it's some CNC version of Clue. And let's be real, ERPs weren't built for the trenches, and most monitoring tools might as well be magic 8 balls. That's why Datanomix built their production monitoring platform for real manufacturers with real machines doing real work. It hooks straight into your CNCs, sheet metal, fab equipment, whatever you've got, and starts feeding you the facts in real time. Cycle times, downtime, job performance, all without needing your operator to hit a single extra button. It's like flipping on the lights in your shop for the first time and realizing just how much better things can run when you're not in the dark. Ready to find out what your team can actually do when you give them the right tools? Head over to Datanomix.io and get your eyes on the prize.